I welcome a truly extraordinary guest and friend, Lynn Monet. She is the world-renowned author of the five-star Omnipresent book series. Lynn is a paranormal consultant, TV and podcast personality, a lecturer specializing in hauntings and the afterlife. She is an empath with the rare ability to perceive interdimensional frequencies. With many years of nursing experience, much of it in end-of-life care, management, and geriatrics, a degree in biological science, and a certification as a death doula. Lynn blends medical knowledge with spiritual wisdom in a way that is uniquely her own. Her powerful voice has reached worldwide audiences. She has been a featured guest on Gaia TV's Beyond Belief with George Noory, Earth Files with Linda Moulton Howe, Coast to Coast AM with George Noory, Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, After Hours AM with Joel Sturgis, Darkness Radio, Bigfoot and the Bunny, The Leak Project with Rex Bear, Beyond Reality with J.V. Johnson, and more than 100 other radio and podcast appearances across the globe. Her books, lectures, and interviews offer profound insight into life, death, and what lies beyond. Welcome, everyone. So glad to have you all here. I'm going to bring Lynn up right now. I'm so blessed to have her with us. Lynn is such an amazing lady. For those of you that are new to this channel, please know you are going to absolutely love Lynn if you are interested in nursing, end-of-life care, and spirituality. Also within the paranormal realms as well. Lynn is your lady. She is absolutely phenomenal. I love her so much. She's such a good friend of mine. And Lynn, if you will, can you introduce yourself just a moment? Lynn will not be here very long. We're going to cut the show kind of short tonight because Lynn will be going on another show with Cisco Murdoch on Rumble. And if you have a Rumble account or are interested in continuing on and watching that show, once this one closes, it begins at 8 o'clock. I will have the link in the description once this is completed. All right. So, Lynn, if you will, just tell those who are new a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Oh, my goodness. After that wonderful introduction, I feel like I should kiss myself. No, just kidding. You did. That's great. No, that's so wonderful. I'm humbled by it so much. Thank you very, very much. As I call her Shelly Bean because so lately I've had so many new friends named Melissa. I accidentally call her Melissa, and I think she and I had this conversation that I think she was a Melissa in a past life because people call her that all the time. So I'm going to call her Shelly Bean. So anyway, for those of you, my 5-book series, which will be the 5th book, 2 of them are in the process of getting ready to come out. Then the final book of the Omnipresent series all started with a house that I purchased that was so haunted that I was never able to move in. Prior to that, I grew up in a haunted house. Anybody that has anything to do with this is haunted already. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's in a bad way. You need to be hung in the gallows. But it just is what it is. With the light, the dark follows, sometimes trying to dub out the light. But we are so bright that the light, we expose the darkness. And so in that way, it's a good thing. So the series is written on true events in my lifetime that have occurred. The second book is what happened next, and they're all labeled omnipresent, but then they have the subtitle, which talks about mental illness, attachments relating to drug addiction and schizophrenia, and the difference between that, and how trauma usually creates the openings for attachments to attach with schizophrenia, trauma also and drug addiction, but it's a different type of attachment. It's more of an archon type that attaches kind of like a backpack on people's backs. How to, to remove those, how to get rid of them. My rotation later in life, I went through as a nurse to further my degree, and I had to go through the psychiatric ward and patients that were in there that were diagnosed with schizophrenia that were in fact empaths and gifted, because I could see what they were seeing. Also working as a nurse in end-of-life care for 17 years, seeing loved ones coming in at the time of death to help their loved ones cross over. Many, many beautiful, beautiful, beautiful occurrences with people, of hearing about babies that hadn't been born yet, of hearing people with Alzheimer's speaking again fluidly when they haven't spoken a word in 3 years, talking about also seeing the angels. Just beautiful things that I wanted to share when I wrote my book, Colors of Heaven, to help bring a better understanding of death and dying, and for people to understand. I mean, on this earth, there's such a finality to death. And really the truth is that we don't die, and you will see, and you will see your loved ones again. This, just because they're leaving this earth doesn't mean that you'll never see them again. You will. Your pets, you'll see everybody again.
Yes.
So it's not the last stop. Really, it's kind of like they're going on a beautiful vacation, if you could try to think of it in that way. And never stop talking to your loved ones, even though they've crossed over, because they still have all of their senses. They have also added on new senses like telepathy and some other ability to travel just by thought. All of those sorts of things that they can do on the other side, but they can hear you the same as we're talking. Talk to them out loud. They can hear you. They can leave treasures for you to find, little things to let you know, even during a stressful day and you're not quite sure. You're like, was that mom? But then you'll find a hair or a feather or a ladybug or something that reminds you of her. You'll smell their perfume or their pipe or something about that you will recognize to let you know that they are in fact there. So that's what I do. The Gap is kind of off the beaten path for me. I had 2 friends that were counselors. I was looking for a book for my youngest child. I had my last baby at 46, and I've got an almost 17-year-old at home. I have 2 daughters and a son. My oldest daughter is here with me right now, and my youngest daughter, of course, is with me. And I couldn't find a book that went from the birds and the bees to talk about this new technical world where, you go out on a date, get off your phone. Unless there's dead conversation, then play music to help engage in the conversation type thing. How to set healthy boundaries, and what to say, because, you could say to your teenager, oh, you just need to set healthy boundaries. Well, what is that? You need to tell them what to say. And then little tools too, like how to clean a refrigerator and not use Windex, use vinegar, and to plug it in when you're done, and how to hand wash dishes front and back, and all of those things that are important, and why, and also how to get out of a trunk. If you get in a trunk, where the release is, where the crowbar is, and how you can use it to protect yourself if you're abducted, and a lot of other things that it talks about, things that are also, I don't know if I could say, well, I don't want to say the S. Yeah. Can I say that word?
Just say the initial.
Okay. It also has to do with people when they come together with intimacy, but there are no pictures, but it talks about the stuff that is not talked about, like how to put on a condom type thing correctly and things like that. So anyway, and not to go out on a date with stinky sneakers, because in a car with closed windows, there's nothing sexy or pretty about smelly shoes. So, so it talks about those sorts of things. And that's what I've done. I'm going to be writing a second book to Colors of Heaven, with some new things that I've learned, like about what heaven looks like. With my mother talking, she made mention that a lot of the buildings actually look very Grecian in that sense, with the pillars and a lot, and a lot of people and a lot of people mistake the walls as marble, but they're really like an alabaster. They have more of that opalescent kind of look. And the thing is she talks about the schools and the walls, and how the light illuminates from inside of the walls, and how, even though we do have homes there, but how also heaven kind of, you can stay there, you have homes. She also made mention too about like artwork that you have here that you've admired, or if you're a painter that you paint, there are things that you've already painted in there in your home on the other side. But she also made mention about how heaven kind of turns into like an airport, so to speak. So you can either stay there, or you can go in offshoots down different terminals to different planets, different galaxies, different, all of these things that you can do that are different. And also the fact that you can be in 6 places simultaneously, the way that she also talks about creation here. She said that it's kind of like when you have a pool table with the balls in the triangle, and you hit the ball against the balls and they scatter. Your soul does that when it comes. So you're actually living 6 simultaneous lives at the same time in different places. And that's why so many times when people are talking about their dreams and they're like, man, I was this fighter pilot and I was chasing through the galaxy shooting at this person and it was so real. Well, that's probably because in your sleep you went between the veils.
Exactly.
And in life, and one life does ripple into the other. My son recently told me, he said, Mom, I think I died in one of my paralleling lives. He could feel it, that there was a death. He didn't know the cause of it, but he knew that he had passed away in one of the lives simultaneously. And then we all gather and go back to the one, consciousness that we have. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. And also, I'm just getting ready to finish my MACE class. People,
good.
I'm gonna start booking for. I owe a lot of people freebies, so but I am going to be booking for other people as well. Yeah, no, you're on my freebie list, like for a lifetime, whenever you need. But so I am going to be starting to book that, and just briefly, what that is in a nutshell, MACE works with the energetic body, which is really where our feeling and our things catch and get stuck. So when you have a feeling that you don't want to feel, you try to stop it. So it hits a ridge, and they call them ridges. And those ridges stay in your periphery. And then when other things like that come up during lifetime, it's like my daughter had made mention going over a speed bump or hitting a wall or hitting that speed bump kind of thing. So you react instead of respond to things in life. And so what it does is 2 things. What it does is, like, for instance, you have somebody that says, oh, well, you know what, that person, they just know how to push my buttons or get my goose. How many times have you heard that? What this does is it clears the buttons off the wire, so to speak. Nice. So no one can push your buttons anymore, type thing. And the thing is that if people, they mention about this extra energy field that is not even acknowledged by the medical field. It's up and coming with all of the frequency elevations that we're doing. But like, for instance, if a person says to you, if my dog likes that person, then I know they're a good person. It's because the dog is picking up on the energy. Yes. So we do. And we also do too. You're standing or you're sitting in a restaurant eating your salad, and all of a sudden you feel this person staring at the back of your head, and you'll turn to see who it is.
Yes.
Yes. So that's
staring.
Exactly. Yes. That's the field I'm talking about. There's not even really human words to describe it. The only way to describe it is through things that are familiar here. And it's really, really going to be life-changing because it's no talk therapy. You don't bring up all of your crap. You don't talk about it doesn't matter what happened to you, who did it to you, or when it happened. What happens is the way you were made to feel in that moment that locked up. And you release it. So you don't have to go through the "he done me wrong" song or the, my dad did this to me. None of that matters. What matters is how you felt in that moment, and it clears it. And sometimes it takes one appointment to do a lot of it. Sometimes you need touch-up work, because the one thing that you are going to notice is after you have that first layer gone, you're going to be like, oh, this is so much better, and I'm not reacting to that anymore. But then you'll find something that you do react to, because there are like levels of things like that. And all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, that's a ridge. then you call, then you reach out to me. We'll sit for 5 minutes and we'll fix it, and once it's gone, it is gone forever. It's gone forever. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to react to be able to respond instead of react through life.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. I cannot wait till I can have my session. This is going to be great. So, Lynn, I do have something to talk about before we go into our actual gift that we were going to talk about tonight at the end of life. When you were mentioning about the architecture where your mom said she had went to heaven, you had not seen my video that I had made about my awakening, correct?
No.
And I do have it taken down now because what it is, I need to be able to have it spread across multiple platforms around the world. And some of the song that I actually had in it and videos that were not mine, actually, I paid for an app to create this. So it's considered selling if I allow certain apps to use it. So I'm having to reconstruct it to where I own all the rights to everything and I can spread it everywhere. But within that, I still have it though. I can send it to you. I talk about and show it's like courthouses and like an ancient, just ancient Rome type buildings with these
Beautiful,
big, huge pillars. But the thing is, they're massive in size. They're not like the size of our like our normal courthouse or even anything to do, like with the presidential buildings. They're so huge and massive. Just the steps themselves are so tall and wide. It just amazes me. But that's where I call the City of Light. That is where I go when I connect with the Akashic Records, Lynn. It's the same place.
Yes, it is. Yes, that's what my mom said too. She said it's the same place. She also talked about the building where you go in for your life review, and that it's more of a rounded front, but also with the beautiful pillars that you enter into, and you're like in this this huge like dome room, and all of your life is playing out in front of you. She talked about that, but she said that that it was more like you said, like the Grecian pillars, and they are huge. She said, that some of them go so high that you can't even see the roof unless
that's true.
Yeah, if you're standing on the ground, but if you're hovering above, then you can see the roofs and everything, but they are gigantic and the people look like little tiny ants, going into the classrooms and stuff like that. She talked about the classrooms. She talked about what happened to people that have reincarnated here versus incarnate, and the different ways that it's handled that way. One is more of a schooling afterwards. The other one's more of a debriefing type thing. Yeah, no, you know what? I have to be honest, which I'm honest anyway, but I don't read anybody else's material, and I usually don't watch a lot of people's stuff unless they personally ask me to review it, because I don't ever want anyone to say that I've gotten something from somewhere and that and I don't want to be influenced by it, because I have enough of my own stuff. I have had a lot of people watch my show, and then I've heard them repeat what I've said on their shows later on, which, you know what I'm saying? Okay. I've caught that, or they come up with their Bob doll or something like that, and I'm like, okay, so I'm flattered that, that you're doing that. However, you kind of got to get your own material, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't, and so please don't feel bad that I didn't, watch that, but I don't need to watch I don't mean to have it sound, but you know what I mean? I don't have to find out other material by watching other people's stuff. You know what I'm saying?
When we are intuitive, sensitive in any way, it's easy when we don't have our abilities that are tapped in yet. It's easy, so easy to watch someone else, and then, somehow within our brain, some things stick as our truth or our reality. But then when you add being an empath or sensitive, intuitive, any type of open abilities to that, even just the smallest amount, then you really can be at risk. I totally get it. You can really be at risk for, incorporating and not meaning to,
Right.
other people's interpretation of things. So yes, we do have to be very careful.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead, and then as soon as you get done, I need to talk to the guests real quick, just to tell everyone.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, welcome. I can't see you. Some of the information is important that it gets out in any avenue. When you look at it this way too, any avenue is important that pieces are picked up. However, it needs to be interpreted the way that it was stated and not having an opinion added to it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So a lot of it is okay if it's something that you need to, because something is the same as the same. 100 people could say that the buildings look Grecian in heaven that have actually seen them, and my mother is there. So
Right.
she has seen them, but it's the truth. They really are, and you can't
Yes.
you can't change that. So
No.
people are going to mention that over and over again. It's not because they're copying somebody else. It's just because that's the way that it is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah.
Well, and two, when you see the video, which again, I'll have a new version of it. It's going to be kind of different, but I'm still going to be saying the same thing. But I will have an interview in there that was mine, so I can use that. So I'll be playing a video, but within that is one of my good friends. She is actually with IONS.
Mm-hmm.
With the international, I see, what's it called? International something about death and near death experiences. I forget what the actual, what is it? I can't remember. International something. But anyways, and she actually describes too, because they interview people around the world. And like you were saying, Lynn, there are like thousands and thousands of people that describe the same thing I described to her. I didn't even know who she was when I first spoke to her. I just found her. I think someone pointed me to her on Facebook at some point, but I didn't know she was with IONS. I didn't know what she did, because what it was, I was trying to search for help because I was having pre-birth memories after the NDE, and they said she can help you. So I reached out to her and I asked her to come on my show. And during that time was when I actually found out. And during the show is when she actually told about the things that I had told her. So there was no, before the show, there was no pre-meeting of anything other than just a very short detail that I had given her that did not include the city of White, I call it. It didn't include that. So she did not know that. And so, until we actually were doing the interview. So it's very interesting. And she was just explaining, how many thousands of people that they interview around the world that have NDEs, they go to that place. Now, real quick, we do have several people here. I'd like to say hello, and I love you. We love you, to each and every one of you. So we have Gail, Miss Pamela, and then we have Dimensional Horse. And now Dimensional Horse said, wonder if we can imagine what we want and it'll be there. And at the time that came through, we were actually talking about the pillars, the city of white, or what some people will call heaven. Now, it has been my experience that, but this is just my experience. We can all have different experiences, but I know with my experiences, I can imagine and like I go where I imagine sometimes, not always, because sometimes my guides take me somewhere to another planet, another dimension, or something like that. But I know that also I can mentally, within consciousness, I can tell my guides, I would like to go somewhere beautiful that has this, and this, and I'm taken. I go there. So absolutely, I do agree that wherever we think that we would like to go, we can experience that if we are in the correct alignment with consciousness. Now, I also feel like on that same question, and Lynn, I would like to get your input on this in just a moment, but on that same note, that's also how I believe when we pass away. If we're not deciding to stay earthbound and we actually cross over, I do feel like that it is our intention. So in other words, if we feel like when we pass away, oh, I've been a horrible person, I'm going to go to hell, I don't want to cross over. At that point, if that person crossed over, they could experience hell, because that is what they are intentionally imagining where they're going to go.
They're lowering their frequency.
Yes, for a certain period of time until they, like we do here on Earth, wake up. Now, if we imagine that when I pass away, I'm going to go to heaven. Well, what is your idea of heaven? Because that is where you're going to go. What is your idea? Now, yes, we can all go to this city of white, or where the Akashic records are, the big, massive, beautiful buildings. Mm-hmm. We can all go there. But we can also, as you were asking, Dimensional Horse, yes, we can. It is my belief that we can change things around a little bit. So, for instance, one time when I went there, which was when I was signing my soul contract with Jesus and my aunt, the ancient Egyptian goddess, which was actually just an energy. But I was signing my soul contract, not physically, but verbally. Mm-hmm. And the city of white was surrounding the background in one, like, if you could say, like, to the back of what I was looking at, okay? But where I wasn't actually at the city of white. It was kind of like, it's hard to describe. It's almost like you have the city of white, and then it's like it just ends. Like people think about flat Earth, which is not real, people. I'm sorry. I've been on spacecrafts and I see it all the time. This Earth is round.
It is round.
Sorry, I have to be truthful. I have to be honest. But anyways, believe what you want to believe. But as far as the city of white, or heaven, however you want to call that, it's like it's here, but then it ends. And then all of a sudden, it's like you're just in space. It's like the universe. It's like it's a place that floats in the universe. But it's not like all encompassing, okay? Like a lot of people think. And I was literally outside of that, right at it, but outside of it, floating in the universe. I was floating. There was these massive, giant tables with chairs surrounding it. And there were people, to be honest, it was almost like a scene you would see in Star Wars. The people who were in white robes, I was wearing a white robe from what I could tell peripherally, like you could see kind of like right here what you're wearing. And I had on a white robe. I was standing, but I was floating. All the other people around the table where the big chairs, everything was wooden, solid wood, but it was like for giants. But it was like holograms. These energies were holograms. And there was someone beside me, to my right and to my left. They were standing, I could see them peripherally. but I didn't actually get to look at them, but they were actually there. I'm not sure if they were guides. I don't really know who they were, but everyone was wearing white robes. And so then the thing is, over to this side was a big spacecraft. It's like all these energies working together. So heaven, if you want to call it heaven, city of white, however you want to call that,
Other side, yeah.
is working alongside with extraterrestrials and, all these different beings. So just like Lynn says, if you believe in angels, you're right. If you believe in extraterrestrials, you're right. It's all combined, because they're all working for the same system, the same true God. Okay.
Yeah, we're not talking about cryptid looking things. We're talking about, what people have to realize, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay.
What you have to understand is that there are so many sunshines that are the stars that are sunshines to other universes with solar systems around them, just like ours. And it would be ignorant on our part to believe that we are the only ones with thousands of, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of other universes out there. So when she mentions extraterrestrial and alien, the first thing people do is they think of ET. And it's not like that.
No.
They're very beautiful. Some of them look like us.
Yes.
Some of them, the Pleiadians look like us.
Yes.
Some of them might have a bluish color. Some of them, but some of them are very, very beautiful. And when they pass, they also have some lessons, and they have planets for lessons as well. Just like we have Earth in our solar system, doesn't mean that they have to go live on that, but they do. And probably what you mentioned about the outer space is why my mom mentioned that it was like terminals, that you would then go off shooting into space, into other things. So that makes sense. So, but the thing is some of these beings, like when my mother passed away, there were these beautiful, very, very tall angels walking with her, but there were these other beings that appeared to be from somewhere else. And they were magnificently gorgeous. I mean, there aren't even human words. The luminous hair and the eyes, the way that they were so bright, but yet they didn't make you squint to look at them, and you could look right almost into their soul. If that there are not human words that can even describe some of what I'm saying. So when she's referencing extraterrestrial or alien type person, she's not talking about ET and those cryptid looking things that most people expect to see, like on Star Wars, although some of them could look a little bit different. But the ones that I've seen are very, very highly elevated, very beautiful beings, so, and they, when they finish their lifetime, they have to go someplace too. So they go to the same place.
Yes. It was so, the beings that I interact with, mainly now, I can go to any realm, negative or positive, but I stay out of the negative, just so everyone knows. I get accused of doing some of the most horrible, dark things that I do not do. So I'm just going to make this clear. I do have access. I can go to absolutely any realm I want. But the reason that I have access like that is because I help to remove negative entities from people's homes and businesses. Now, my abilities work a little differently. I actually start the investigation approximately 3 days prior to going, if it's not an emergency, because that's where myself being able to tap into all the lower dimensional is because I can actually, within consciousness, I can travel to wherever the place is without knowing the address, not without knowing the continent. Just talking to the person, I can tell my guides, please take me there. And then I can draw it. And I can connect, if it's a lower, whether it's demonic, whatever it is, if it's a lower realm, I can connect with that. I can see what they're dealing with so that I can more help them on how to get it to leave, to cleanse, things like that. Or if they need to reach out to someone, like a demonologist or something like that. That's why I have that open ability. Okay. But I don't normally go tap into that. It's only when I'm helping someone. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, you don't want to ask for trouble, that's for sure.
No,
Yeah.
I say people just like to talk, but people think they know me. It's just so crazy, but they don't. They don't. It's like they know that fraction of me, and I'm saying, how it is, and people talk about. I don't care anymore. But I'm just anyone that's new on here. I just want to make that clear, so there's not anyone thinking that I am practicing dark arts or anything like that, or staying tapped into something negative, because absolutely not. I do not allow that, because it
Me
can
either.
so much destruction, and no, absolutely not. But I hi Robin, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. But I do feel like that when I am usually going in, like taken to the higher realms, that what I have seen, I can just tell you what I've seen, what I've experienced. I'm either experiencing, as Lynn said, Pleiadian. I'm actually a Pleiadian star seed.
I'm Arcturian.
That's that's so cool. That's why I continually keep going to the Pleiadian ships.
Mhm.
Okay, the UFOs, whatever you want to call them, UAPs, whatever.
Mhm.
But they are Pleiadian, which are part of that city of white that are assisting God. Okay, so it
Mhm.
works the same as hierarchy here. Basically, we have, you have your business owner, and then you have the supervisors, or general managers. It keeps going down to where you have, the people that actually work on the floor, that do the most of the work, honestly, as far as hands on, right? And then it goes up the ladder to someone who's more instructing or supervising the ones on the ground, we'll say. Okay. It works the same way. There is that hierarchy. So it's like, you have God, but God also has his worker bees that are working for him to help humanity, to
That's
help
right.
us. And so, to help with our souls and all that. So it's not just angels.
No, it includes Fae and elementals too, people.
Yes, there's so many realms that were made and designed before we were ever thought of, before Earth ever existed. They were
Yes.
already existing for the purpose of not just helping us, but also assisting other realms, other planets. It's not just all about us. So, but I did usually, it's the Pleiadians who look like us, all different ethnicities. Now I can say this: most of my spirit guides, most of the people that interact with me who are advanced beings are dark skinned, as in black. Okay,
Mhm.
and I know people look at me funny because I'm a Caucasian female, right? But most of mine are black males. I do have some black females. There's actually one black female who is like the star commander of a ship that I go on a lot. She is like the commander. And it is something like you would see on Star Trek, or more like Star Trek. Yeah. Wearing the uniforms. I mean, this is real, people. This is real. This is
Mhm.
not woo-woo stuff. Um, but I am part of that somehow. I don't have all the answers. I just know I go there all the time. Um,
Mhm.
and they know me. I know them. They're my family. They are my family. Like, I know, we have family here, but they're my real family. But they're advanced beings. But they're beautiful. Uh,
Very advanced.
and then some of them of the same group are mixed with what looks human, and then part bird, but they're not the blue avian birds that a lot of people talk about. They're the different ethnicities like we have here on this planet, but then some of them have bird characteristics, but they're still beautiful. They're just absolutely beautiful. So from time to time, I will be taken to a different planet. Like one time, I was walking. I really feel like it was on the moon. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I travel. within consciousness, I get taken different places. And I was walking, I could see the craters, and it was dark, but there was enough light. And there was I knew that it was a male and a female, but I had not seen beings like this before, but they were still pleasant. But they were really tall. I couldn't really see their faces, just enough to where it was like their skin was like ashen gray. But I couldn't like see their lips or their eyes or anything. Only it's because they had hoods on. They had on like hoods, like a robe that covered their entire body, but the hoods came over, and it was like I couldn't see anything like right here, just enough of like the jawline. But I saw their hands. They did have 5 fingers, but their hands were like their fingers were really, really, really super long and skinny and ashen gray white. So if you can think of like we see like zombies, things like that when they're like supposed to have been passed on, right? And in the movies they continue living, so they're like that ashen grayish white color, like what we say is death. That's kind of like the color I was seeing. So, but there are entities on the moon. Yes.
Oh yeah.
But they told me, they said it. I overheard them. It's like I could telepathically hear them. And the female voice said, "Are you sure it's her?" And he said, "Yes, it's her. She's the one." And then all of a sudden, it's like, boof, I was back in my bedroom, and, in this dimension. And so I never did know she's the one for what. and so I never did get that answer. And, I've asked many times, so I don't know. But I just know I was there. The beings that I saw were just the 2. But from what I could tell, I didn't feel anything negative about them at all. I felt more like they were something to do with like overseeing that planet. I do feel like it was the moon, but I can't say for sure, but I feel like it was. But whatever planet I was on, it's almost like they were like the overseer, like we would have the presidents here, but it was more like one that watched over the whole, instead of having like different continents and having different presidents. It was like one group of people for the whole, planet.
I'm actually, if you see me looking away, I'm writing stuff down that I don't want to forget to add to what you're saying.
Sure. But yeah, so we are definitely not alone, guys. There was something else. I have been shown some negative ones. The main one was an octopus that it was like a giant octopus. And actually, Jesus was my spirit guide that took me there.
A kraken.
This thing was very, very eerie. We were not in water, but it moved as if it was in water. And like compared to the size of Jesus and I, this thing was massive. It couldn't see us. I was starting to get afraid. The reason Jesus took me there was because I had had so many wonderful extraterrestrial encounters that I was beginning to think, well, maybe it's all in our heads. If we have something that we don't understand, that we're afraid of, well, maybe we might just be thinking that, okay, something bad happened. But Jesus was like, no, you need to see. So Jesus literally took me, and so I experienced, and Jesus told me, said, do not be afraid, be still. So of course, I trusted Jesus, and this entity could sense we were there, kind of like we sense spirits. It could sense us, and as it was like it turned around, but as it turned around again, it was like it was moving as if it was in water. So it's like all of its legs, tentacles, whatever you call them, an octopus, all of them like moved as if like in water. And so it's just really wild. If you've ever seen the what is it, the Caribbean, no, Caribbean, those funny movies,
The
something about,
crack, like the Kraken.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Caribbean, whatever. Johnny Depp, I think is his name, that plays in them.
Pirates of
Is
the
it Johnny?
of
Yeah,
the
Pirates of
Caribbean.
the Caribbean. I don't know if it's Johnny Depp or not, but
It
anyway,
is.
is it okay?
Mhm.
But there is a character that moves like I'm talking about. So
He's the captain. Yeah, he's
okay,
who is he? He's the captain.
yes, he wears that big captain hat
Yes,
on a boat.
yes.
So what I saw is actually real, and it did move like that. So this entity that I was shown, um, as it turned around, it was like floating towards where we were, but it was going like right past us really slow, like trying to figure out where we were. It's like it knew we were here, but I was just being really still and I was trusting Jesus. And then it went on because it was like it slowed down when it got to us, like, where are they? And it was I'm going to say this. I have been encountering demons because of where I was open since I was 3 that I can remember. What I felt from that extraterrestrial, demons do not even come close to the negativity that I felt with that extraterrestrial octopus.
Wow.
Okay, I'm just going to be real. And I'm not trying to spread fear, because, again, most of the beings that I encounter that are advanced are very beautiful, loving, as Lynn was saying, very, very, very loving. But we do also have dark. Okay, but we don't need to be focusing on them. But we do need to know they do exist. They are real. But anyways, let's see.
Oh, it was Davy Jones, by the way, was the name of the.
Yes, that's it, Davy Jones.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had to ask my daughter. So.
Okay, let's see. Has there? Okay, so okay, wait a minute. Let me back up. Oh, we got a lot. Let me back up. Hold on just a minute. Okay. Hold on just a minute, guys. Go ahead.
While you're looking at that, I want to say a couple of things to back up what you've said. In the Egyptian times, inside of even the pyramids and different things, and even inside of the Indians' caves, there were drawings of people that were part bird, part human, way back then. And they suspected I believe that the aliens had a lot to do with the building of the pyramids and stuff like that, and that the Aztecs and things like that also had contact with them, and that's why they disappeared, because certain things learn how to manipulate and manipulate is more of a negative term. I don't mean it that way. It's actually a very beautiful thing when you learn how to elevate your frequency on demand. And the thing is when they elevate their frequency from a 3rd dimension, which is what we're into, a 5th dimension, you cannot see them. So the other thing that I wanted to, let's see here, about the Egyptian bird, also what she was mentioning too, God, source, or whatever is the creator. So, all of these things, like she said, he has to delegate there. He's in charge of all of these universes and all of those sorts of things type that. And we do mix here. There was something else I was going to say too, that you'd mentioned that I agree with. I can't find it now, but the bird people are known by the Indians as well as the Egyptians, and their countries apart. So,
Oh, cool! Awesome.
Yeah. So what you're saying about what you saw is an alien form that was like half bird, half human.
Yes.
Other humans on this earth have seen them as well. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. I would love to get up with some shamans or some different Native American tribes and talk to them about that.
Yeah, real
that
ones.
Would be really cool. Yes,
real
yes.
ones.
That'd be really cool. Okay, so Pam, let's see, let me go back here. So Gail, that's what I love about her. Okay, wait a minute. Gail said she used scripture to help me in a prayer, nothing demonic about. Oh, Gail, thank you. Thank you. That's right.
Yeah, she's not dark, people. I can vouch for that too. I call her Shelly Bean because she's precious to me. She's absolutely precious, and my heart connects in with hers. And I can promise you, there's no darkness in there. Because if there was, she and I would not be friends. So,
Pam, Pamela said, Gail, that's what I love about her. Everything is done in goodness and
And
God.
love,
Thank you,
and
Pam.
love. Yeah, and
Yes,
God.
and
Well,
love.
God is
Thank
love.
you.
So,
Yes, yes. Robin, Michelle, are you referring to the Galactic Federation? Yes. Okay, so I think, I really feel, and I know this is going to sound out there, but I'm being honest. I really feel like I am part of them.
oh, and we all have some connection with that. And the thing is I want to make mention too, for anybody that's listening that is new, this is not the 101 class, people. This is the advanced class.
Yes.
So if you're stepping in here and you're like, what? You are in the wrong place, because the people that are gathering here already know about this stuff. And this is just recapping and also adding to what they've already experienced to validate them. So just so that you know.
Yes, yes. So, okay, when I was around that table that I
Mm-hmm.
was talking about, to answer your question, the Galactic Federation. So, the one where they look like holograms. Now, there were 9 seats, okay, around the table. Now, behind me, it's like I knew there was a chair. I wasn't looking at it, but I knew there was one behind me. Okay. That would have made 9. Now, there was also what I saw peripherally. If you count the ones that were with me, if they were guides or not, there was a total of 3 more. So either there's like, and I knew it was a council. So it's either a council of 9 or a council of 12, depending on if they count the people, the energies that were standing at my side, floating beside me. I don't know, but it's like, I feel like I'm part of the council, whatever that is. Could be Galactic Federation. It could be another council. I don't know, but it has something to do with the city of White, where the Akashic Records,
Mm-hmm.
where Jesus is. I honestly don't know. Um, but I just know, I gave like a verbal oath, for my soul contract to come back. And, when I had passed away, to come back for humanity. Um, yeah. So, and I was at this council, but in that moment, I was part of them. It was like I was seeing my true self, and I was speaking with another tongue. Um, I was still, and my husband at the time, this was while I was bedfast. Um, my husband at the time, I was asleep, and he said that I began speaking in this other tongue. And I can't remember which arm it was, but I raised one of my arms completely up in the air. But it was still in English, but it was like attempting to speak like a Middle Eastern type accent, trying to speak the English language. So my tongue, I can't speak like Spanish or anything like that, because I cannot roll my tongue. I'm not one of those people. Never could. And in that moment, my tongue was naturally doing that, like as if I was a Middle Eastern person learning the English language. So he could understand what I was saying, but it definitely had a strong Middle Eastern accent. And he said, and I also remember saying this, I pronounced the name of Jesus Christ. That was my signature, if you will, to my contract. That was how I signed my contract. It was verbal. And then I was, all of a sudden, boom, I was back, conscious in the 3D. But he literally witnessed that. And, it freaked him out. But this stuff is real.
Oh, it is real. It absolutely is. I remember during a meditation, I was met on a cloud by Melchizedek, and he led me to the side of a mountain that I entered into, that was another being that was from somewhere else, that had very, very white, beautiful hair, robe as well. And I entered the side of the mountain, but there weren't like stairs to get to it. We just like floated over. And at one point, he parted the clouds so that I could see down over the tops. And that's why I had mentioned to you about how you had mentioned how big the buildings are. And I'm like, yeah, they are, unless you're floating above them. And I had he parted the clouds for me, and I was able to look down onto the buildings. And we continued into the side of this mountain, and the tables and the seats, there were tables and seats also, but they were literally carved out of the mountain. So like the chair was stationary because it was made out of rock, and the table was built up and also made out of the rock components of the mountain there that day. And I was given a message, and I don't remember what it is, but I was told, and I believe this falls into place with you too, where you had the part where they said, is that her? Is that her? This time of elevation of frequency that we're going through right now, there are periods of times that we are going to click on that, and we're going to automatically know what our job is, what we're here for, all of that. And it's not to be known until that time. I believe that. So we've all volunteered to be here for the whatever events that are going to be occurring, earthwise changes, energy changes, frequency changes, whatever that it is. But there are certain things that are being held back from us because they'll be activated in that moment when we need to respond.
Or so that's kind of like getting like downloads, getting kind of like codes or something, and then all of a sudden we understand something.
Yes, exactly. And we will know what our actions are. We have volunteered to be here. God knows why we would have to go through this life on this 3D dimension, but it's to get to this point that is coming. So that is why they stopped it with,
I said, I'm not coming back.
No, I'm not coming back either. I'm done. I'm done. You know, I can say that I'm done, but when I say that I'm done, I'm done. So I incarnated, you incarnated, all of us that are standing by. We are standing by. We have our designated work cut out for us and what we're supposed to do. We just may not have the light shed on it at this time. But I was also given information, and it was amazing because as I entered into the side of the mountain where the table was and the chairs, there was this long hallway, and there were these things that were actually hanging on the wall, kind of like what would hang inside of a castle well, they were like a ribbon decorative kind of thing, but it was thick kind of thing. And they were colored, and some of the colors they don't have here. So, but they were luminous as well. And then there was this long hallway, and on both sides there were people sitting, like working with the light that was coming out of the walls. Yeah. And I mean, the hallway was as long. I mean, you couldn't see the end of it. It was so long. And I came back out, and I've tried to get back to that point. And I've met with Melchizedek on the cloud maybe 2 or 3 times since then. Yeah. And he won't, and he's like, he takes me to the mountain, but they won't let me go back inside right now for some reason. So yeah, that's interesting. That's why I'm writing that follow-up book to Colors of Heaven, because not only have I been validated by what my mother, who is there, when you have a near-death experience, you learn a lot, but there are still pieces that are left out, because there are pieces that you will only get when you end up staying there, when you're finally there to not return. So they'll take you up to a point, and then you return, and usually you return with messages for people to hear, which a lot of times you say, are you kidding me? You really want me to tell people that? Because they're going to put me away in the nut house, but because you think the people aren't ready. But then all of a sudden you start to magnetize people to you that are ready to hear what you have to say, and you become supported, and you find each other. And again, it's all the timing. You find each other when you're meant to, and there are reasons for it. You just may not know at that moment, like when they said, is that her? Or like when they stopped me, gave me my messages, and then I couldn't remember. At the time, I knew exactly what they were, but coming away back into the third dimension, I couldn't remember. So, it's like a program kind of thing. So
it is, isn't it? It's really fascinating. And so, let's see, Pamela said, I had a reading from Michelle maybe a year or 2 ago, and something she said finally made sense to me last November. Okay, Pamela, do you Is this something you can elaborate on, or is it something private? If it's something you can elaborate on, I'd love to know. If you could refresh my memory. Let's see. Gail said, Pamela, I'm still waiting on that dude. She said I was going to meet. Gail, are you getting out there? Are you meeting? Are you getting out there?
Also, it's an opportunity for you to start loving yourself enough to make sure that you feel attractive enough about yourself to attract that kind of a person. You know what I'm saying? If you've got that 20 pounds to lose, or if you've got that, that tooth in front that need, I'm not saying that that's your situation, but if you've got things that you need to do to attract the kind of person that you want, you need to be the kind of person that can attract that also. So
You gotta believe in yourself. Gotta
exactly
100% believe in yourself. Now, Gail, we all know you are a beautiful lady. So
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that you have to love yourself first to receive that healthy kind of love that comes to you. So I'm not saying anybody's, I didn't mean that.
I totally get it. Let's see. And then Gail said,
she's been very accurate for me, people. She's been very accurate for me. So that's all I have to say.
Let's see. Gail said, not that I actually want one, though. Not supposed to meet him yet. Could not be time yet. Okay, Dimensional Horse said, has there been any time that you were scared, Michelle? Oh, yes. So that time, well, now let's see. That time I told you about with the octopus, yes, that was really scary. But the fact that Jesus was beside me, and told me not to be afraid, then I was okay. But the negative energy coming from that entity was so overpowering. There's no way I could describe it. A demon's energy is so overpowering. Dimensional Horse, I don't know if you are a medium or psychic or have any type of open abilities where you've ever experienced or encountered any type of demonic, not just negative, but demonic type entity.
I have.
If you have, then you will understand what I'm talking about with that negative, that it's almost like that a piercing, energetic negativity that is just like something could just literally break you in two with so much hatred. Well, this being, that's octopus, the feeling that I would get from demons, this octopus outweighed that. I'm talking multitudes. It was very, very, very scary. Now, besides the octopus, really the only things that I have been afraid of was, again, when I was bedfast, it was like I was being brought up into portals, but they were portals through consciousness, not like physical portals, putting my hand in, something like that. No, I would blink and I would be laying there. My husband at that time, pretty much we hang out on the bed. I couldn't walk. So, I had to lay in bed all the time. So that was our living room too. And so he was always laying beside me there or sitting, and I would blink and all of a sudden I would go, like, oh my God. It was really scary because it was like I could feel my soul being removed from my body. And during that time, within a blink, it seemed like a very long time. But it was like I could feel this like a vibration. And I would go into, the best way I can describe it is like a water slide tunnel, that the one that wraps all the way around. And I could literally see my spirit. My feet would always be like out front, like on a water slide, but it would be like super fast. And the thing is, I have epilepsy, so I have to be careful on those water slides. I can get on them, but sometimes you'll get on ones that have like cracks in them. where the sunlight comes through, kind of like driving in a car, where it flickers. That will bother me because I have epilepsy. But when I was traveling in consciousness, going through those portals, of course, it was like there was no, and the speed, oh my God, I was going so fast within consciousness through those. It was just crazy. But and that's something else, because it was like, like if you've ever been on a roller coaster or some kind of amusement park ride that goes really, really, really fast, it turned my stomach more, because it was going a lot faster than anything I'd ever been on this planet. And I'm a roller coaster gal. I mean, it's like the faster the better. And what I was being taken through within consciousness literally affected my body, because I was feeling it, and that was scary. And one good thing, I shouldn't say that. There are some good things I can say about my recent ex-husband. Yes. But one good thing that I can say, that he did help me through that situation. He did encourage me, because to allow myself to not be afraid, and to see what's on the other side of that portal. And it took some time, but it seemed like in increments, I would go a little farther and a little farther. But it was all about me releasing fear. And once I did, it was like, I'm on a spacecraft with good people. This is great. I was scared for nothing, basically. I was just really scared, because I guess I just, that's not stuff that we're taught is real, right? It's in movies. Um, but yeah, that's basically as far as the scary. What about you, Lynn? Have you had things like that scare you?
When I've met a hell dog in person, close up and personal, on two different occasions.
Oh my God.
And they have that smoldering undertone of that deep, 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 deep evil. But and I remember meeting one for the very first time, which was in that house that I had purchased, that I wrote the book on. And the thing is and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, being a nurse, when you're exposed to something over and over, it's like seeing a naked body. When you're a nurse, it's like looking
Yeah.
at a big toe. I mean, you don't look at it. You don't look at it. Yeah. Like, oh, wow, look at that. You know what I'm saying? And you just,
Whoopee.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, so being exposed over and over to that energy, and having to be in the house with that hell dog, I turned on that nurse mechanism, where it was like, oh, it's you again, where I would actually come out and I'd hear it growling at me, and I would be like, look, I'm here to get my stuff. Okay. I am leaving. You win. You can have it all. I just want my stuff, and I will be on my way. And I went and took my stuff. And because I was not afraid, it had no power over me at that point. But of course, in the very beginning, it was horrifying, because I had no idea what it was. And it would run the stairs, and it would, slam doors and turn on and off water. And and having my dog react the way that it did, and and it being a mother of single, children.
Can I interrupt? What did your dog do? Please tell us.
Well, first of all, she would not go into the house originally when we took her over. She bulked so hard that her collar came over her head. I thought that she needed to go to the bathroom, so I put her on a long lead outside so that she could smell the grass and other dogs, what they've left behind. And so when I went to bring her into the house, I literally had to carry her inside of the house. Then she started darting around the house looking for an exit, and she ended up downstairs. This was a split level house. She ended up downstairs in the lower level. There was a family room with a huge stone fireplace, which they like, real fireplaces that are stone. They're energetic. And my son and daughter were down there playing with their video game thing, and the dog came down, and they shut the door to keep the dog in there. And all of a sudden, my daughter was sitting on the stoop of the fireplace, my oldest daughter, and she felt this thing come up behind her and literally huff on the back of her neck. And she said when she turned around, there was this wolf-like thing standing there with its hands out, and that something just told her to like put her arms out like a helicopter and to move, because the movement would move it because they can't stay solid in moving air, if that makes sense. It's not that they can't stay solid, they're still there, but they can't show as much in a physical form because it takes a lot of energy for them to do that, and they have to feed off of the lush of fear or sadness or something like that. But in the meantime, my dog was literally clawing the wall next to the door, almost digging a hole through the drywall, trying to get out of the room.
Oh,
And
I heard of dogs doing that.
Yeah. So when they finally opened the door, my dog runs up to the kitchen, and she's sitting in the doorway of the breakfast nook, just trembling and shaking. And I thought, oh my goodness, she must be cold. So I went and I got a towel and I laid it down and wrapped her up in it because I didn't have a blanket. We were over at the house and I was doing things, we hadn't moved in yet. And so I assumed that that's what it was. And she would not take her eyes off of me at that point. Finally, that night, when my children went to bed, I stayed up and I painted a bathroom. And it was around 11 o'clock. I went in the kitchen to clean up my paintbrushes. And when I came out of the kitchen, because the house was split level, I passed by a wrought iron railing that would keep you from falling down onto the descending stairs. And then the ascending stairs came up right in front of me from the landing, because there were double doors. It was a double door entry into a foyer, and then stairs that would go down and stairs that would come up. So the stairs came up right in front of me, just past that wrought iron railing. And all of a sudden, I see this thing go across the front entry and up in front of me and shooting down the hallway. And it was the hell dog. And it was like, you'd have to read the description in the book. It's like nothing I've ever seen. It had big, I mean, it would take me a while to describe it. But all of a sudden I hear my dog growling ferociously. And of course I'm frozen, thinking to myself, what was that? I mean, it was horrific, but again, I'm rationalizing, maybe a bicycle went under a street light to make that. But this thing literally came up from downstairs, went across the double doors up in front of me and shot down the hallway towards the bedrooms. And I hear the dog growling ferociously. So that kind of snaps me out of my funk. And of course I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's late. I'm tired. Paint fumes. I haven't eaten anything in a while. My blood sugar's low.
Yeah.
My kids are sleeping. Instead of grabbing my stuff and running out of there, which is what I probably should have done. So I go down the hallway, and my dog was a schnauzer. Okay. And she's standing in the bedroom. My children have now we didn't even have furniture yet. So they drug the two blow-up mattresses into the room, and they were watching Helldago, the horse movie, and they fell asleep. So my dog Sally, the little schnauzer, was just inside the doorway, and she had a ridge of hair up on her back. And when I came to the room, she was growling ferociously. She was fixated on that door. When I went to go in the door, I kind of stroked her a little bit, and she put her ears back for a second, but then her attention went right back on that door. I took her outside thinking maybe, the windows were open. Maybe she heard a raccoon or something. Again, I'm trying to rationalize it. Didn't want to come back in the house, had to carry her in the house again. She went in and nestled between the kids, and I'm telling this story kind of quick. So the next morning, I finally showered, laid down with the kids, and the next morning we woke up. I said to my daughter, I said, how did you sleep okay last night? And she said, no. She said, I felt like something was standing in the doorway watching us while we were sleeping all night long. And my son woke up, he had bite marks on his legs. He had purple bite marks on his legs in 3 places from the hell dog. So,
wait, I'm sorry. I'm just so interested. Okay. I'm sorry that he had to experience that. I'm sure that was very traumatic.
No, it wasn't. It happened during the night. Well, he had a bath the night before, and he had on his Bob the Builder or Trance, whatever it was he was into at that time. He had a short sleeve t-shirt with his matching little bottoms. And so I would have noticed it when he got out of the tub, because they were very obvious, and you could literally count the teeth where the bites were. And when he woke up,
were there, or what did they look like?
They were three of them, 2 on one leg, 1 on the other, 1 on the calf area, 1 more up on the thigh, and another one up on the thigh area, kind of off to the side. You could count the teeth. They looked like a dog bite, but it was smaller than my dog would have left if she would bitten, but she wasn't prone to biting, and it was much larger than a rat, but literally you could see where that mouth was open and you could count the teeth. They were purple. And I asked my son, I said, Austin, what happened to your legs? I mean, I thought maybe he was playing with his Toy Story dinosaur or something, and made it chomp and bite him or something. And he looks down and he starts touching him and he says, I don't know. So whatever it was, they kind of sometimes can put that energy over you where like you have that sleep paralysis or you don't notice, things. And they must have done that with him. And I was laying next to him. So they must have done it with me because I didn't feel anything. But when he woke up, he was literally touching them. And I'm like, you know what? If that were to happen to somebody with those kinds of bruises, you would have felt that happen. And he didn't even remember it happening.
Wow.
So needless to say, the kids didn't go back anymore to the house after that incident. But I have to step out. I've just gotten my link to Cisco's show. If you want to stay on and finish explaining and answering people's questions, I'm going to bow out here quickly. And
love you.
Love you too.
Thank you so
my
much.
precious Shelly Bean. And so I will see you. Thank you, everybody. It was great to be on, and I send much love and light to everybody.
Okay. Bye. I'll be over there with you.
That's fine. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.
So go ahead, and isn't she just great? She's so knowledgeable. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these, and then I'm going to just touch on real quick the reason why we had this gift for the topic of the show. Hang on just a second. Let me find where we were. That is amazing. Oh, wow. Love hearing Lynn's story. Yes, she is so informative. Very interesting. Gail said, I don't want a man. I love you, Gail. Let's see. Pamela Estes. Let's see. You had told me my grandmother was training a little girl to breathe life. Let's see. Was training a little girl to breathe life back into me, because my grandmother was going to be leaving me soon to go somewhere else. Okay. Well, now, I don't remember that, honestly. Let me see. Well, you know how... Yeah, you know how... Let me see. I'm having trouble reading this. You know how, Pamela, I channel when I do the readings, and I don't always remember a lot of stuff. And plus, it has been so long. Let's see. Gail said, I'm much happier without one. Okay, not a medium, no abilities, dimensional horse. Lynn Monet, you should start a YouTube channel. Yes, she should. I actually talked to her about that. Let's see. Oh, I see you, Robin. Oh, I see you are in here. Definitely get that. Okay. Dimensional horse. I've been a caretaker for many people, including family. Okay. And then bless you, Robin. Dimensional horse. Gail, humbled and grateful for your comment. Hands. Okay. Thank you, Gail. Let's see. Gail, I've been a caretaker all my life. It takes a special person to care for others. Yes, it does. Absolutely. And then thank you, Lynn. Bless you, Gail. Okay, so now we're caught up. You don't want to see my son's stuff in the background. Sorry. Yeah. He's 32. I taught him better. I really did. Anyways. Okay, so anyways, so now the reason why I wanted to, I really felt like I needed to speak this, because this is something I experienced. It's part of my story, but it's also, being a nurse, I went through this with a lot of family members or caretakers about taking care of the person that abused them. And how hard it would be. And honestly, I'm really glad that I took note when I experienced these things in healthcare, because it literally helped me when I went through it myself. Because those of you that are new to my channel, if you have not seen my video, The Kidnapping of Michelle Brandenburg, then if you watch that, you'll understand more what I'm talking about. That's not the whole story. I'm working on a lot of things right now. You guys are going to get the whole story as soon as possible. Okay, I'm working on a lot of stuff. And I'll just tell you right now, it will definitely not be for children. There's a lot of violence. Okay, but anyways, but the main part is when, okay, I'm an only child. So, and I have 2 sons. I had one son that was available. That also, he's my younger son, and he works healthcare. And so he works very long hours. So he was going through a divorce. He moved in with us, me and my stepmother, because I had moved in with my stepmother and to help take care of my dad. Okay. So then my son was going through a divorce the same time I was going through a divorce, and he moved in to help us take care of my dad on his days off. So my dad was extremely abusive. Now, my dad did not have dementia. He had dementia type symptoms. He had cirrhosis, which affected the CO2 levels to his brains. Oh my gosh, his brain. So the toxins would get out of whack. And it would cause him to react like someone with Alzheimer's or some type of dementia. Before it got to that point, he was still completely my dad. Okay. Although he couldn't walk, he was very abusive to my stepmother and I. It was really, really hard because he had been abusive to me all my life. And I had to see him be abusive to my mother. I had to fight for my mom a lot of times because she wouldn't stand up for herself. And then many things throughout my life. It was really hard because it was always a constant. I was never good enough. Okay, no matter what I did, it's like I could never make him proud. I was never good enough. I was always stupid. Okay, that's literally what he would tell me. Not just ha ha ha, you're stupid. No, you're so stupid. Okay, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about here. So, I was never, nothing that I did, I could do right. Nothing, ever. Okay. So here I am, an only child, and then plus my younger son and my elderly stepmother. Now, my stepmother did help as much as she could, but she really couldn't. You know what I'm saying? She really couldn't do that much. So it was really hard. And I'm a retired nurse. I went through an accident, and that's why I'm retired. I'm not supposed to be lifting. So he had a lift, but still you got to get the lift, attached and all that. And I wasn't supposed to be doing that, but I did for a year. So he kept rejuvenated. Like they would give him so many weeks or so many days, and he was going to pass, and then he would rejuvenate again. And I'm not trying to make this sound bad. I mean, of course I didn't want him to pass away. I didn't like to see him suffer. Okay, that's what it was. We didn't like seeing him suffer. But then he would get better, and then just boom. And he did this back and forth for a year. Like every time we thought he was passing, because they would tell us, but we really never knew. So anyways, it got to the point where I asked him while he was still in his right mind, Dad, why did you kidnap me? Why were you so abusive to me? Why were you so abusive to Mom? What did I ever do as a child? What did I do? Was it because I stood up for Mom? And he never did answer me. He never did tell me. But what he did tell me was that he was sorry. Okay. So he still continued to abuse. And at that time, I was learning to stand up for myself. Okay. And I'm going to get to the gift here in a minute, because this was so a gift. Okay. Because it helped me to really stand up for myself, really stand up for myself and say, no, that is not okay. You are not allowed to touch me. You're not allowed to hit her. You're not allowed to grab her. You know, I was, for the first time in my life, I was able to stand up to, you know, yeah, I've been in abusive marriages, relationships, but I'm talking, you know, this was my dad. This wasn't, you know, my blood, right? Being able to stand up to him for the very first time in my life. And that's when my life started to change. But it took some time, right? And so in this process, it got so bad that one day, like my dad would keep triggering me. Like I would try to stay grounded, and because he was wild. He didn't sleep very much, and he was constantly trying to climb over the rails and try to, you know, get out of bed, and, you know, just constantly. And so I didn't get much sleep as it was, and I had to sleep in the couch behind his bed. So I was already exhausted, and then I would go in there to check on him, because I would hear him rustling around, and he'd be trying to get out of the bed, and then, you know, like he would try to grab me, or, you know, just yelling at me, just the same old stuff, you know, all my life. And I would get triggered sometimes. And when I did, this one day, it was really bad, really, really, really bad. Like, I literally wanted to walk away and never come back. Okay. And the reason I'm telling you guys this is, if someone comes on here that experiences that, you know, someone that was very abusive, you're going to understand what I'm saying here about being triggered. Okay. And, you know, I had no other choice. We had waited for almost a year to try to get him into a nursing home nearby. So yeah, we could have gotten him somewhere in the United States, but we needed him somewhere nearby. There were no openings. So, and then there were some that were open, but he'd already had such an abusive past with different doctors and hospitals that they wouldn't take him. So we had to wait a long time to get somebody to take care of him. We did get hospice care. However, hospice was only there like once to twice a week for about an hour that they could come help. So, and really what we needed, you know, between my son's work schedule, my disability, my stepmom being elderly, we really needed help. You know, we needed to be able to get away. We needed a break. And my son did that from time to time, but it was very rare, because of his work schedule, right? So it got to the point I felt like I couldn't take anymore. And my son was there. He had just gotten home from work, and he actually was walking in the door when my dad was hitting me. And I was so triggered that, you know, I was just like, you can't do this to me. You're not allowed to hit me. You're not allowed, you know, you're not allowed, right? And my son came over and he said, Papa, why did you just do that? I saw you. And he said, I didn't do anything. Now, remember, he's still in his right mind. Okay, this was way before, you know, any of the toxins started affecting his brain. He said, I didn't do anything. And that's what he would always say. You know, he'd always say he didn't do anything, right? That, you know, it wasn't true. But my son saw him. And he said, Papa, I saw you. And then he said, well, you know, like that. And that's the way my dad was. Well, I did all right. You know, that's the way he would do. But he would pass that off as it was okay. Well, I had to go in the other room because I was literally ready to leave. However, I knew I couldn't leave because I would have been in trouble for abandonment. You know, because not only is he elderly, but also I am a nurse. I would have gotten in trouble for abandonment, right? And so then it was like my son got a hold of me and said, Mom, you can do this. Mom, remember, we're all he has. I know what he was doing, Mom. I know. And I know it's not right. But, Mom, there's nobody else. And when he said that to me, that was such a beautiful thing. Because it was like instantly snapped me out of it. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. There's nobody else. This is my responsibility. I have to take care of him, and I'm going to take care of him the right way, regardless. Okay. So it started at that point, it started making me like a powerhouse, strong. Okay. And when he would start, because he was sneaky, like he was the type that would say, let's go for a ride. I would love to take you to Dairy Queen or something, and then get me in the car, and then like put the child safety locks on to where I couldn't get out. And then he would start screaming and start being very abusive, and I couldn't get out. Okay, so he was always very sneaky when he would do things, and he would make sure he wasn't around, certain people that could witness things and stuff like that. And it was always, trying to, like, because he had a good name. Let's just put it that way, and he wanted to keep that good name without things coming out. So, anyways, as time went on, I started noticing that his mentality was changing, and that's when we found out his CO2 levels, or the toxins in his body, were increasing and all that. And he was beginning to get a lot of fluid on his stomach, and they would have to drain the fluid. So during those times, until the fluid would be drained, he would be confused. And during those times, he still knew who I was, but he acted just like someone with Alzheimer's or some type of dementia. So he still knew I was his daughter, but in his mind, he was a 16-year-old child again. And he was back in Lee County, Kentucky, running, ripping the roads in the mountains, right? And so, it was things like that. Well, neighbors are doing something. Well, sorry about that. I don't know if you can hear that. But anyways, something's happening. Guys, I don't know what's happening. Hang on. I'm going to go see. I hope somebody's not trying to break in. Hold on. It sounds like next door. Sounds like they're fighting. I don't know. Sorry. But I live in an apartment. But anyways, so long story short, it came to the point where the more that he was getting confused, the more that he was being nice. And we know in healthcare, a lot of times we see with the elderly, a lot of times when they're one way all their life, like let's say if they're very nice all their life, a lot of times if they get dementia, they will completely switch personality and become very combative or very mean. And it really freaks people out, because they're like, that's not my mom, that's not my dad. Well, in cases like my dad, someone who was very, very mean or abusive turns really sweet. This was my gift. I'm not kidding. So it's like, when he got to the point where he had switched over, because eventually they did diagnose him with Alzheimer's. And when he got to that point and he did switch over, he switched over to that sweet, loving child. And I looked at it as, wow, because at that point, he treated me nicer than he had ever treated me in my life. And it was like, all of a sudden, it was like this huge blessing of like, wow, my dad still remembers me somehow. He knows I was 53 at the time, and I still am, but during that time I was 53 and 52 and 53. And it was like, he still knows that I'm this old, but yet he thinks he's 16. But it's like he doesn't care He remembers some things in the past, but most he doesn't because, again, he's 16 in his mind, right? So most of that never happened. And it's like all of a sudden, wow, I'll take this. I will take this. I will let go of everything that happened between us in the past for this time now, because God is literally giving me a gift right now. Because my dad would actually look at me and tell me he loved me. He would kiss me on my cheek. I have videos where, he'd be smiling with me. That was not my dad. So at the end, although it took all those years, and although it was so hard in the beginning, taking care of the abuser, it was not easy mentally. But then all of a sudden, things started changing. And although I don't like that it took him having to have Alzheimer's, because it is a vicious, vicious disease, at the same time, it was like it all made sense. It all made sense because I had to 100% release and let all that go. Because now, sitting beside me, hang on, God's just so good. But laying beside me is this man that I never thought I would hear, I'm sorry. I never thought I would hear, I love you. And before he passed away, we actually talked when he was enough where he could, he wasn't like totally in his right mind, but he was enough to where he remembered the kidnapping. He remembered some stuff that he had done to me. And I said, Dad, so I have a calling. And when you do pass away, I never want you to feel like I'm speaking my truth to make you look bad. I said, because God is having me to use our experiences to help people going through abusive situations around the world. And I said, Dad, I would like for you to agree with me. I would like for you to understand and work with me, even when you pass away. Work with me in spirit as a team to use all of the hurtful things, the hateful feelings, the bad reactions on both of our parts to help people around the world so that people can start being more aware of abuse and how abuse trickles, it trickles on down the line. And if we're not aware, I could have easily have been one of those hurts people, but I chose not to. And I had to really work on it, right? And I explained all this to my dad. He totally got it. And he agreed. And actually, since he passed, he came back. He's came back several times to me, but one time he came back, and I was talking to him about it again because I'm getting ready to do some things, and I wanted to make sure with him one more time, now that he's in spirit, that he is in agreement that we're going to work together, because I didn't want to do anything to hurt him, right? Because he's still my dad. And he let me know in a vision, he let me know that he was still in agreement, that it's a go. So I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to feel guilty, because this isn't about destroying my dad. This is about us signing a soul contract, coming here, living these things out, going through these things, so that now, at this point in time in humanity, I can use my stories and I can teach other people who have been through things like this to speak out and to use their stories to help other people who are not as strong around the world. So it's like everything starts making sense. So my point of telling this is about the gift. Yes, it's hard taking care of someone who has abused you. Okay, it's very, very hard. And I'm going to tell you, I've encountered so many people who would just give their parent or family member, friend, whomever, over as a ward of the state. Wipe their hands clean. It's not my problem. That kind of attitude, it's not my problem. So I want to say, anyone that takes care of someone to begin with, whether they were an abuser or not, I commend you. That is so hard. That is one of the hardest things that we can do, especially a female trying to lift and tug and all that and not having, like hospital help. That's hard. It is really hard. And unless you've done it, you don't know. But then on top of that, taking care of someone who has been abusive to you in any way, knowing that you could hand them over to the state and say, I'm done, no more. But you don't. You begin going to God, and you begin saying, God, you got to move. God, I trust you. I trust you, but you got to move. I need you to move now, because I mentally can't handle this anymore. I physically can't handle this anymore. You've got to do something. And then trust and believe. To those of you that have done that, or are thinking of doing that, or are going to try that, I commend you. I truly, truly do. Because it's all about releasing. It's all about letting go, forgiveness, and realizing, remembering, guys, this is not real. It feels real. This realm is not real. It's like, if you can look at it kind of like a game, that we agreed to come here. We signed contracts to go through certain big things in our lives, to cause problems, to hurt us, to hurt others, so that we can experience things, we can teach each other things, we can have soul growth. Okay? We didn't come here to have a happy time riding on unicorns. We came here to have a really, really hard time on purpose, as spiritual beings coming down into a physical body. Okay? So when we can grasp that, and I know those of you that are hearing that for the first time, that can be a very hard pill to swallow. It really can. Say, what? I didn't sign up for that. Yes, you did. We all did. We all did. The big parts. The things in between, we have free will. Okay? But the big parts, the big things, the big lessons, those are the big things for our soul growth. Without those, we would not have soul growth. If you stay in heaven all the time, where it's just sweet and peace and nothing ever happens, you don't get soul growth. You don't. How can you expand? You have to come somewhere and you have to experience hardships. You have to know what pain feels like. You have to experience how to overcome things so that you can have that soul growth. Okay? Once you can grasp that concept and then look back at everything and say, oh my gosh, okay, maybe that was a situation that we had a soul contract that we had to go through. And now it's up to me, regardless of what that person does, it's up to me to release it completely, fully, 100%, to the point where I know I can take care of them and want the best for them. Okay? Where I know that regardless of what they did or how they treated me, that I can honestly go up to that person and tell them that I love them, give them a kiss, Make sure that they've had the medicine they need, the food that they need, the baths, whatever. And fight for them when someone else may try to step in and hurt them or do something that's not going to be good for them. Fight for them. Stand up for them. That's the gift. Okay? Because when we can get to that point, I can tell you I have no regrets. None. That's the biggest gift that I could ever receive. And my children mean everything to me. But the gift that I got from that, from all those years, and finally being able to look at my dad in the eyes and feeling, oh my God, he loves me. I'll take this. He may not know where we are, but he loves me. The heck with the rest. The heck with it. What does the past matter? Right? What does it matter? It was a lesson to learn how to release, to learn how to let things go and keep on loving. Keep on, how do I want to say this, Spirit? Keep on being the best person that we can possibly be. That's what this is about. That's where the gift comes in. So again, anyone that's going through this now, that's going to be going through this in the future, if you think you will be, anyone that has already, please know my heart is with you. And I really mean it when I say I commend you for taking care, whether they're an abuser or not, but especially if they were an abuser or are an abuser. Do you understand the strength that it takes? I didn't understand the strength at the time when I was in it because I felt like I was going nuts, right? And I had to make sure that I kept myself grounded. I had to make sure, because if I didn't keep myself grounded, before I knew it, it may have been 3 days before I had a shower. Yeah. Because he was constantly trying to get out of bed and climb, and like I never hardly got any sleep. And so it's like making sure that we take care of ourselves first, make sure that we eat, that if we need to shower, we shower. Take care of our necessities. Even if it's, even if we have to go take care of them first, get them completely taken care of, and then we can run, take a shower real quick, or we can run, do this real quick. But we have to take that time for ourselves. We have to have that. Even if it's in teeny tiny increments, we have to have that to keep our sanity during those times. And we also have to stay connected to God, okay? Because those are the things that helped me to overcome this. Those are the things that helped me to be able to look at a higher perspective and say, okay, the heck with all the past. The heck with that. I'm going to use it, like I said, and I am, to help people around the world with abuse. But as far as my personal feelings towards my dad, I love my dad. Yeah, he was an ass. He was an abuser. Okay? But I love him. I love him. Because that's all done. And we have to be able to get to that point and be the strength for other people. Because if you can think about how many people around the world right now are having to take care of their abusers. That's not something we talk about. We don't hear about like publicly. But I know it happens all the time in healthcare. I don't know how many times people will come to me, family members, in private. And they would, tell the facility this person was abusive. And they would just come there and drop them off and leave them. Okay? But we need to start looking at things in a different light. We need to be able to see the gifts that God gives us. We need to be able to switch our perspective around. And instead of holding on to grudges and holding on to, all these past things that we can't change. We cannot change these things. We know this. They happen, but we can't stay stuck there. We have to make that choice. And it's so important moving forward to make that choice, to keep our hearts open, to continue to allow love into our lives, to continue to find our happiness. Because woe is me. It's too easy. I know, I lived it. I lived it for years. Bitter. Couldn't stand him. Okay? I'm just being honest. Could not stand him. Things that he did to me, okay, were not good at all. I'm not just talking about being hateful or mean. He done some stuff. Okay? Some stuff. And it's all going to come out. I'm working on stuff. You'll see. But I had to make that choice. And that's where it comes down to us. Are we going to accept the gift when we have a family member that is in the stage of passing? Are we going to truly forgive them and enjoy that moment that we have? Even if it's just a few minutes, enjoy that moment. Say, you know what? None of that even matters anymore. I'm going to use it to help people. But as far as my heart, my mind, my spirit, it doesn't matter anymore. Are we going to do that? Or are we going to stay stuck and bitter and full of hatred? It's the gift. I choose the gift. I chose the gift. And you can too. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I love you guys so much. I'm going to put the Rumble link. If you're interested in going to watch Cisco, you're more than welcome to go do that. As soon as I get this closed down, I'm going to transfer this over. So give me about 5 minutes and I will have her Rumble link ready for you. Let me see if there's anyone. Let's see. Pamela said that's exactly what I've been going through with my sister. Robin said resonating. What an incredible message. Well, guys, this is where we have the choice to use the stuff that we've been through. We can turn it all around by helping humanity, using that to help humanity. But we can't, there's a trick to it that we can't stay stuck in it. Like when I tell these stories, I can't allow my emotions to go back there. Okay? I can't allow myself to, because if I'm not careful, I'll just keep feeding right back into that negativity. And before I know it, I'm going to spiral backwards. So, that's where we need to just make sure that we keep moving forward and we, keep in our minds, our spirit, our hearts that, okay, now I know this is part of my purpose and moving forward, I'm going to use this to help humanity. I'm not going to stay stuck in this because I am using this to also set myself free. I love it. I love it. Okay. Let's see. Thank you for the reminder. You're very, very welcome. Trusting in the divine flow. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much. Oh, love you, girl. Oh, thank you. I love you guys so much. I'm going to get off of here. I really, really do. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I truly hope that I can help as many people as I can with these things. You know, I know we get off. I make thumbnails and shows on certain topics, but it's like we get off on other topics. And I know we get so caught up in, because we all get so excited and we're all so passionate, you know, when we all get on the show together, we're so passionate about these things, and then, you know, one thing leads to the next, and I'm good with that. I am so good with that. I want it to a point to stay organic. But I'm sorry that it did take so long to get to the reason of this video, but it was much needed. I feel like there were a lot of topics that we needed to talk about for people that come on new to this channel, and help people learn. So, yeah. I've been trying to only think positive thoughts instead of good for you, confirmation. Good for you. I'm really proud of you guys. I want you to know that I'm really, really, really proud of you guys. Troopers. Real troopers you are. Okay. I love you guys so much. You guys take care. I will see you guys on something soon. I've got so much going on, so much planned. I don't know when and I don't know where, but whenever you guys decide to tune in again, I will see you then. And until then, I love you, I love you, I love you, and huge hugs. Bye.